let's get a round of applause for everybody being here. What's up? First, I would like to recognize Asheville Volkswagen of Asheville, excuse me. Charles, will you stand up? Maybe give Charles they're our sponsor for this safety meeting. Thanks, y'all. The Canadian cowboy, Chris, for the Wookie cookies. You see my shirt, right? Everybody can see my shirt, right? This is the safety meeting. The reason we have the safety meeting is because we're going to keep it between the mayo and the mustard the entire time we're on this trip, right?
Yep. Right.
Yep. That's it. That's all I really wanted to say at this point. Chase, you ready, buddy? Chase is going to lead our safety meeting for us. Happy birthday, Chase.
Thanks, Grant. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for coming. So we got started a little bit late, and some of you are going to be going on the parade lap with the humble mechanic. Can anybody raise their hand if they're planning on going on the Dragon right after this? You guys do a tire swap? Okay, so we'll figure it out. But basically, after the safety meeting, we'll keep it short and sweet. We have some really, really important, very, very special guests that are here as usual. So at this time, I want to introduce from the Blount County Rescue Squad, Lieutenant Laura Osgood.
Good morning, everybody. How many new people do we have? Wow, that's a lot. How many are new to the Dragon? Wow, okay. All right. Well, we're with the Blount County Rescue Squad. We're the first responder agency that patrols the Dragon on the weekends up here. We're an all-volunteer agency. We're made up of first responders, EMTs, paramedics, and doctors. And it's a group of people who volunteer their time to be up here because it's remote and it takes a long time for medical care to get up here. How long do you think it takes for an ambulance to get here if you're wrecked?
2 hours.
Sometimes it does. It can be anywhere from 30 minutes to over an hour. I've sat with a patient for an hour and 15 minutes that eventually had to be flown out because it took so long for the ambulance to get here. And it's not because they don't want to be here, it's because they're low on people and this is just a remote location. So about 5 years ago, the Blount County Rescue Squad decided that we would have volunteers post a truck up here so that if something happens to you guys, we can get to you in anywhere from 5 to 11 minutes and begin life-saving interventions, which is really important to us. Our people do it, they volunteer their time because they care about the people that come up here. There's an average of about 1,200 vehicles on the Dragon every day. There's about 100 wrecks and about 3 to 4 fatalities every year. I worked my first DOA last year, and I've worked a lot of wrecks on the Dragon, and that one really sucked because there wasn't anything that I could do. It was a motorcycle, but we do have it happen with vehicles too. So the one thing that I always want to tell people is don't think you're invincible because you're inside a vehicle. It does happen. We had a couple of fatalities a couple of years ago that really broke the hearts of the community. They were close to us, so be extra careful. This year has been really wet. We've had bad weather. The road conditions are not as good as they have been. We've noticed a lot of broken pavement, especially on the sides of the road. So be really careful. You know, we talk about keeping it between the mayo and the mustard, but be careful with the mayo too, because if you get too far on the side, you might drop off. It's a big drop off. There's been a lot of wildlife too. Last year I got to see a Canadian woman on a motorcycle dance in the air with a bear cub, and that was really interesting, and we knew that the mom cub wasn't too far away, so it was a little bit of a hairy rescue. I think both of them were okay, but that's a little bit of a scary encounter. It's frog mating season, and believe it or not, you wouldn't think that that would cause a problem, but frogs on the road can be really slippery if you hit them. Just my words of wisdom are just be aware of everything around you. You know, be aware of your location, On the Dragon, we've got mile marker signs now and half mile marker signs, which is great because that really helps us get to an accident timely. So just kind of be aware of that as you're driving and keep track of where those bad spots in the road might be so that when you make your next pass, if you're going a little bit faster, you kind of know what to expect. Speed limit is 30 on the Dragon. We do have increased law enforcement presence this year for some reason. They started coming up early. There was a lot of motorcycle training going on last month from not just Blount County and the state troopers, but Knox County, Monroe County, and the surrounding counties. So they've been up here kind of in full force. They will be looking to give you performance awards for going over the speed limit that you can take home. And one of the biggest things they look for is people crossing the yellow line. So be really, really careful to maintain your lane, okay? And it's not just you guys. You guys have to be really careful and observant of what the other people are doing. So you come around a blind curve, you don't know what's going to be there. It could be a bear cub, or it could be a car, it could be a motorcycle. Every time we're up here working on the Dragon, we usually encounter something coming around a blind curve. It's a little bit hairy. But you're going to have a little bit of a wet weekend. Have a safe weekend. There's a lot of debris on the road. They did a good cleanup last week, but we had a lot of heavy wind and rain last night. We've noticed some trees down and some branches on the side, which can pose a really big problem for you. So just be careful. Be aware of your surroundings. Watch your speed. Drive just under your capability. Drive just under your vehicle's capability. And that way, if you do encounter something a little bit harrowing, you've got room to stop. You've got room to make amends for it. Use the pull-offs. If somebody's on your butt, just let them go. Pull off, give them a few minutes, and then you can pick up your pace again. That's about all I have to say. Does anybody have any questions for me before I turn it over to Matt Cagle? Matt's going to talk a little bit about what to do if you are in an accident or if you encounter an accident while you're up here. Yeah?
Have you guys had any semis on the Dragon this year?
Yes, we have. We've had semis, and we've had boats, and we've had trucks that took every curve wide on their way up here as we were following them. So we encounter just about everything. Yeah, nothing surprises me up here, and it shouldn't surprise you either. So just be aware and be safe.
Thanks, Laura.
Yeah.
Thanks, Darren. How's everybody doing? So what to do if you're actually in an accident or if you see one. What you need to do actually starts long before the accident. You need to keep an eye out for the mile markers like Laura was talking about. We've got mile markers up, mile marker 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 11 for the entire Dragon. And starting this year, or maybe it was last year, we actually have half mile marker signs as well. So in the back of your mind, as you're going through your run, keep in mind where you are. That's the most important piece of information that you can give us if you run across an accident. Because if we don't know where you are, we have 11 miles of embankment to search before we can find whoever's down there. The second thing you need to keep in the back of your mind is where the emergency vehicles are. Laura was talking about there's a lot of law enforcement up here. I know everybody's probably going to be keeping track of where they are because you don't want your performance awards. But also keep in mind where we are. Usually we're up at the Overlook, sometimes we're down at Deals Gap. Just keep in the back of your mind where your nearest speed trap or your nearest emergency vehicle is, because that's where you need to go to let us know if something like that happens. So if you see this, first thing you need to do is make sure it's safe to stop. You don't want to just slam on your brakes because then you're going to cause a secondary accident. We don't want that. Make sure it's safe to stop. Use one of the pull-offs. Check on the patients. That's one of the first things we're going to ask you about after we ask you where the accident is. We're going to ask you how many patients and if you can tell us anything about their status. You're going to want to come and find us after you have that information. And you're also going to want to, if you have more than one person in your party, leave somebody behind to mark that spot. If the accident's in the roadway, of course we're going to roll up on it and we're going to know exactly where it is. If they're over the embankment,
once we get to about that mile marker, we still have half a mile of embankment to search before we find where it is. So if you can flag somebody down and have them stay there, that'll help us out a lot, and they can also slow down traffic. But most important when you're doing that, make sure you're safe. Don't stop and have somebody directing traffic in a blind corner. It's going to be a bad, bad day. That's everything I want to say about that. Any questions about what to do if you or someone else is in an accident?
Are you on a radio channel at all?
We are. It's an internal channel. So if you come up to us, we can let our dispatchers know, but you're going to want to come find us. Anything else? No, you won't be able to contact us via radio.
So the only way to get to you is back up or down the mountain to one of those locations.
Yes, so the...
You won't have a problem.
The best thing you could do is go find an emergency vehicle. We've got a radio in there. We can call our dispatchers. If you can't find one of us, there's Deal's Gap or there's the Killboy Shop. Or in the other direction, once you get down off the Dragon 5 or 6 miles, there's the Harley Shop. They all have landlines and they can call the dispatchers. But if you can find one of us, that's that much faster. Anything else?
Yeah.
All right, I'm done.
I just wanted to say one more thing. This group has been one of the best groups up here. We don't have a lot of wrecks or complaints or anything about this group. You guys are fantastic. So anyway, but I did want to reiterate the fact that we're an all-volunteer nonprofit agency, and you guys are one of our biggest supporters on the Dragon. Absolutely. It costs money to maintain our vehicles, tires, maintenance, fuel, everything, uniforms for our people, but most of all for the training. We train continually so that we can be up here to get you guys up with the ropes and all that good stuff. So I just wanted to say thank you to everybody. Every single dollar that you give to us goes into making sure that we can be on the Dragon for groups like yours to hopefully help save lives. So thank you.
Thanks, Laura. So how many people, this is their first time coming? I'm glad you're here. So we have a really great IT guy who's running the slideshow, but he's got 2 kids, he's got a job, he's got a wife who didn't make it today to the meeting, but she's here, and he really doesn't want to update this slideshow with more crashes. And they're crashes, they're mishaps, but they're accidents, they're crashes. And so I'm going to bring somebody up right now who's probably seen it all for the last 17 years. He doesn't need an introduction. It's Killboy.
What's up, you guys? So, yeah, I've been around here for 17 years, and we've been out there, shooting everything that we see on the road, and this is my annual Don't Shit on the Playground speech for our little spot up here. So just not to rag on people and make you sort of not feel like you can have a good time out there. You guys are actually pretty fortunate to have the platform of a car that you have in these conditions. I know the rain kind of freaks people out and they think that it's not a good time to get out there and play, but actually you couldn't have a better vehicle for this. You're all-wheel drive, and the rain keeps a lot of the other traffic that would normally be sort of clogging it up out of your way, so you guys should be able to have a pretty good time out there. Yeah, again, thanks to these guys, and if you guys haven't already made a donation, you can go to bcrso.com, and we have a link on the Killboy website where you can help them sort of keep their thing going, because like she said, all their time and money is all strictly donations, so that's pretty cool. Just a couple things to keep in mind, especially for the new people. Recognize that when you're in a group or you're just driving with another person, you tend to sort of get it over your head easier. So the main contributor that we see when people start getting in trouble is they're driving not their own pace. They're driving the pace of somebody else on the road, or they're trying to keep up or stay ahead of somebody. So recognize, we all kind of do that, recognize when that's happening and try to keep it under control. If you have like a GPS navigation, or you can put your phone up on your dash where you can see it, you can kind of use that to see what the road's doing, what the curves are doing, if there's a double apex or a decreasing radius and things like that coming up. Try to use your GPS system, but don't drive with your eyes on that strictly. And then, like she said, just there'll be a little bit of debris, but with all the cars out there running around, it should get cleared off pretty quickly today. They had a pretty heavy police saturation last weekend. They had about 6 vehicles, I think, up on the Dragon Saturday. So there'll probably be a couple out this weekend, but I'd say they won't be quite as heavy because they kind of did their thing last weekend. But just be careful. They're looking for people causing problems, but for the most part, they let you have some fun. They're just trying to walk a line between, letting it be all Wild West versus running everybody away. So some people are going to end up, taking one for the team before the weekend's over, I'm sure. But that's part of the price you pay. If you did a track day or something like that, then you'd be paying anyway. And then, just stop by the store, the Tell the Dragon store, the Deals Gap stores at the end. All these guys rely on what we can do during the season to get through the winters, same with us. So they have the Wookies in the Woods signs, and they got free stickers for you guys down at the Tell the Dragon Killboy store over there. So they've done a lot of special stuff for this group and a couple other groups here. This weekend is also the Pigeon Forge Rod Runs, and the Classic Broncos group is going to be coming through. So there'll be a line of Classic Broncos, usually about 30, 40 of them come through at some point tomorrow. And we might see some classic cars and things like that bleeding over from Pigeon Forge and everything, so expect some of those groups too. And I think you all know, just check your tire pressures, manage your brake temperatures. Anybody that's done track days knows, but if you haven't been trained in braking technique, just remember that pussyfooting around on your brakes and being gentle on them is actually kind of worse. So you want to be smooth, but when you're going on some of the downhill stuff that's repeated downhill braking, try to get off the brakes as soon as you can. Get on them, get off, and let them cool off. If you drag the brakes out and try to be easy on them, you're actually making them hotter. So if you're having problems with your brakes overheating, try a technique where you're a little more aggressive and you get off. And you get on pretty hard and get off. And the more time you spend off the pedal, the faster they pull. All right, so trying to wrap it up because you guys are kind of behind.
Thanks, Daryl. Yeah. Does anybody have any questions for Daryl?
No, but I would add one other thing to check your tire
I'm
pressures
sure.
is check your wheel bolts, torque them.
Lug nuts and things like that. Yeah, especially
Just
if you haven't
saying,
reheated them.
Yeah, check your wheel bolts, your torque each day.
Yeah, because one time you tighten them, and then if that's the first time you put them on, then after they heat cycle, they'll end up coming a little bit loose. Yeah.
Thanks, Daryl.
Cool. Thank you.
Yes. Okay, so just kind of moving right along. We're going to bring up the title sponsor of this event, which is it's huge. It's a big company. You've heard of them. Let me introduce Sean Maynard from Volkswagen America. Thanks, Jake.
Thanks, Jake. So this is my 5th year back, and as I've said for the last 4 years, this is just an amazing event, my favorite event. So happy to be back. This year, we've brought back Umit and Megan from the product and also our teams. And then Jamie Orr has come along as well. You might have heard his City Golf this morning, blaring its trombone all around the campus, that sort of thing. Yeah. But also, we've stepped up a little bit. R has seen that this is an amazing event, and they've brought some support. So we have some amazing things for the raffle. We've got a Spectrum car, the Sorrento's Turquoise, with us. So definitely check that one out. Brought back the GT wagon in a different color. And then also at 4 o'clock, Tanner Faust will be here, and will be with us through all day tomorrow, hanging out. So sign autographs, the rest of things. Try to figure out what he'll do, but definitely come and say hi. He is now officially the Volkswagen R brand ambassador in the United States, so we're excited about that as he recommits to doing rallycross as well. So that's all I have to say. Excited to see everybody. It's been great, keeping up on Facebook with everybody, and now we're back as a family. So let's get out there.